We all know the cycle. You wake up on January 1st, or a random Monday, fueled by a sudden burst of motivation. You start the new workout routine, the daily meditation habit, the strict diet with absolute intensity. And then, a few days later, the fire burns out and the habit is gone. But look at the other extreme. There are people who maintain relentless discipline for years. They never miss a workout, they track every metric, they stick to the routine perfectly. Yet they are constantly anxious, rigid, and deeply unhappy. Both of these outcomes reveal a structural flaw in how we approach self-improvement. Forcing your behavior to change through sheer willpower alone inevitably leads to either rapid burnout or a brittle, stressful existence. As we established earlier in this series, understanding the mechanics of your mind is only the first step. To actually reshape your psychology, you have to engage in an active process of transformation. To achieve lasting change without destroying our own peace of mind in the process, we need to abandon the modern hustle culture playbook. We need a different operational framework. That framework already exists. Thousands of years ago, the sage Patanjali compiled the Yoga Sutras, creating a technical manual for the process of psychological restructuring. Right at the beginning of the text, Sutra 1.12 presents a precise, seemingly contradictory formula for stopping the constant turbulence of the mind. The sutra states that gaining control over the mind's operations is achieved by deploying two distinct, opposing forces acting in simultaneous unison. Those two forces are Abhyasa, which translates to persistent, devoted effort, and Vairāgya, the continuous practice of letting go of your attachment to the outcomes. Think of them as the two wings of a bird. A bird cannot fly with only one wing beating. It is the simultaneous tension of these two opposing forces, pushing down with effort while letting the wind carry you, that generates lift. The first wing is Abhyasa. Sutra 1.13 defines this as the deliberate, persistent endeavor to keep the mind in a state of tranquil steadiness. This definition suggests that real effort operates on a much longer timeline than the modern illusion of the 30-day challenge. Patanjali explains in Sutra 1.14 that for this effort to actually alter your psychological baseline, it must meet three precise, non-negotiable conditions. First, the practice must be dirghakala, executed consistently over a massive scale of time. Second, nirantarya, continuous and without interruption. You cannot practice intensely, drop it, and expect change. Finally, satkara. The effort is driven by reverent devotion rather than guilt or self-punishment. When these three conditions are met, true Abhyasa forms the architectural foundation of the mind. It becomes a lifelong devotion to the daily process, stripping away the anxiety of racing toward a finish line. But this presents a severe problem. What happens to our psychology when we apply this massive, unyielding effort but ignore the second wing? Relentless striving has a natural side effect. It builds up the ego. The harder you work toward a goal, the more you cultivate a deep attachment to your own physical or spiritual progress. That unmitigated discipline soon mutates into craving. You start obsessing over the metrics, the visible changes, and the external validation, making your mind rigid and hyper-focused on the results of your labor. If Abhyasa is your only active wing, you end up flying in furious circles. You exhaust yourself fighting against the wind, eventually crashing under the weight of your own expectations. This is exactly why Sutra 1.15 introduces Vairāgya, the second wing. It acts as the required counterbalance to the friction generated by all that effort. Modern interpretations often mistake detachment for apathy. They assume it means running away, suppressing your human emotions, or simply not caring. Ancient commentaries define Vairāgya much more specifically. It is the psychological mastery over the craving for objects you can see, or rewards you hear about. It is a lack of interest in the mundane spoils of success. Following this path requires you to participate fully in the action with maximum focus, while simultaneously releasing your grip on what that action yields. Vairāgya operates as the mind's cooling system. It neutralizes the ego, allowing you to pour yourself into the work while keeping your hands open, letting the grains of outcome blow away in the wind. Patanjali pushes this even further in Sutra 1.16 with the concept of Vairāgya, the absolute highest state of this detachment. This stage bypasses physical outcomes entirely. It is a state of structural independence from the shifting qualities of nature itself, known as the gunas. You see this exact philosophy echoed in the Bhagavad Gita, pointing to a deep unification across Vedic thought. The Gita explicitly lays out the rule for human action. You have the absolute right to the work itself, but you never have the right to the fruits of that work. Reaching this synthesis means you no longer identify with the turbulence of your own mind. You decouple your sense of self from the chaotic environment, leaving you with pure, undisturbed clarity. Applying this thousands of years later means bringing this paradox directly into your daily routine. True freedom is not located at the end of a checklist of accomplishments, nor is it found by retreating into a cave and doing nothing at all. Freedom exists exclusively within the active, lifelong tension between these two wings. It is the daily challenge to show up and do your absolute best work, to practice with devotion and unbroken continuity, while remaining completely at peace with whatever happens the moment you are finished. Mastering this tension provides the balance necessary to sustain true transformation and finally allow you to take flight.